Hello and welcome to Skits. I'm back live again with the Jagdpanther 173 from Tamiya, the late model tank. As you can see, I've progressed slightly with painting up the replacement gun and mantle it. This isn't an actual tank. I think I said that in the last video. This is just something I've wanted to tinker around with. So instead of making it a recognised tank, I've gone with the option of painting the gun barrel grey and using hull red for the what they call the red primer coat. It's not stuck on, so I'm going to remove this for a minute because what I'm going to be doing soon is I'm just going to be adding a few. Get it out. It's a bit tight. A few chips and knocks to the actual tank itself. Scratches. I've part primed. They look like silver on the camera, but they're not. They're primed grey. They're the metal ferrule tracks that I've found in my spares. We've got one which is partly separated. So just resolve that issue. They have to be painted black and rusted up. So I need to put those on one side because I've got to work on those. Either paint them black or take the primer back off and rust them up. I've primed the rubber band tracks again with grey primer. They need a little bit of work done on them. They'll have to be painted black, and then rust washes and that put on them. I won't go too heavily with rust washes because they're metal tracks. When they get used, regardless of I think where they go, they're not going to be that rusty. It all wears off eventually. Now the other thing I did was to paint up the tow cables, and they were ready to go on the kit in their position, and what they needed to do was be manipulated into position, probably using a little bit of heat. Well, I have to say I've had a bit of an accident with one of them. We got overexcited with the heat and we melted the actual part itself. So somewhere along the line I'm going to have to find some wires and make my own cable. I think I do have a couple of kits where we've got some already twisted wire, and I might just have to steal the wire out of them. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. Bit happy news with the painting, and end up melting the tow cable wires while trying to get them to a position. Because they go from there and then they spread out across the back of the deck. So a little bit of a disaster, but obviously nothing that can't be fixed. Pretty happy with the way my gone out of focus again. Pretty happy with the way my wooden block turned out. And I decided to paint the, God's sake, fire extinguisher. That's it, that's the word. Fire extinguisher yellow. I wasn't going to leave it grey, and I didn't think it would look right if you painted it bright red. It would sort of stick out a little bit. So let's crack on and put some chips and wear and knocks where it's going to get scuffed. So it's going to be along the wheels and a little bit on the hatches and round where the extra tracks go, and probably on the cleaning rod around the heater compartment fan, and a few bits and pieces. I'm not going to do too much because it can stand out a bit like a sore thumb. No, I don't want to do that. We don't want to make it overdone. So I've got down, I'm using model colour black grey. I thought black would be a bit too harsh, a bit too dark. So I'm going to use black grey. I'm not brave enough to paint on the white and then go over the top with a darker colour so it looks like the skin's coming off of the paint, as some really excellent modelers go. We've got a small brush. I'm using a Army Painter Masterclass, which has got a very fine tip on it. It's probably, I would say, probably a size 3, maybe size 3. So let's crack on. I've got my paint already mixed up. Hopefully it's thin enough that I can do what I want to do on it. So we need to put a few knocks around the commanders. On the commander's hatch, because there's going to be wear and tear here, obviously. I don't usually do a week video. Normally leave it to the weekend when I've got a bit more time. But I just thought I would do one because I was itching to get back on and do some painting. A little bit darker than others. Nasty, now judging by, yeah, we need to put a few on here because this is the part that closes down onto the top of the other hatch. Try and make them random if you can. We need to put some just inside here. Probably a bit. There you go. Let's see that hatch. I'm going to put some along here regardless. imagine it's going to be fairly knocked around here. Also, you have to be fairly quick, otherwise the old acrylic's going to dry out and I'll be dabbing nothing. Another thing I'm going to make an assumption on is where the full periscope comes through with the commanders. I would assume that these, when it pops up, knocks that out. So there's should be a bit of wear and tear on the top of these. As a commander isn't going to pop out and pull that out and then do that, is he? So maybe a bit of scuffing on the edge of that one. As you can probably hear, it is November the 5th. So we've got the usual fireworks going off. I'm not a big fan of fireworks. So concentrating on this is probably a lot easier for me. Excuse me. I'll try and make it as random as I can. Not too much, really. Corners is where things get knocked a fair bit is right on the corners, on the edges. Hatch across the periscopes. I haven't sealed anything in yet either with a gloss coat. I will at some point. I might have some on the driver's periscope. It's gonna happen. Let's knock some nuts and bolts down a bit. Not really gonna see that, but a bit dark to see that. Maybe just the tips of those ones because they're sunk into the field. Bits on the front. I need to go down this side here. Maybe not as many on this side. It's going to be a bit of wear here, because that's where the tow cable's going to goes on. So we need to knock some of that back. Trying to get in where I can. I'm not really picking this up because the camera's too close. Right. Let's do some other tow hooks on. And one, two. Unique fire extinguisher. Just the brackets. to something that's rubbed. I hate fireworks. I really hate fireworks. There's a few scratches along the wooden block hole where it's held in by the frame. I'll do a few on the other tools. They're obviously going to be used, so I need to do something. Paint's dried out a bit. Found it here. How's that rattling? There we go. Now, this is the long and laborious part, or I could make it easier on myself. And do the easy option, which is to get a bit of sponge, dip it in the paint, and do it that way. I'm going to, so the toe cable would be sort of here. And do a few scratch it that way, and it comes around this edge here. So it may not get used. Obviously in this case it probably was, because they towed it away, or it might have been driven away, who knows. And it should be sitting across the deck here. Obviously with movement tow cable's going to flex about and rub in the areas where things like the tow cables would be. So, this would flex in those places, bounce around and create rub. That's how I see it. Squeaky wheels. Let's do some on the rear hatch. And it's going to be knocked, especially on the handle. This is where they enter. The commander would probably jump up there and down there, and the gunner and loader and driver, everybody have to go through the back door. I won't put any on that because that's not going to get smashed about. Right, so the hatch comes down here. Got a couple of rubber stoppers here. They'd definitely be bashed about. A little bit wear on the engine cover handle. And let's do some on the hinges to the engine cover. Now, that's coming that way. It'll fold back on itself slightly, so we'll get a bit of wear around the edge of the engine fan cover. He's going to be knocked about. Maybe a scratch or two across the top. This, I think, will have a bit of chipping on it. Caused by debris falling down as it rotates to keep them warm. It's going to fly about. So in reality, it'll probably smash the little fan blades to pieces, but don't really want to wreck them. So we'll create a bit of knock there. Loads of nuts and bolts. Ooh. I'm going to get damaged somehow. Put a bit of rub on the numbers. That might be a bit too much. I'll come back down this side. I need to get some on this edge. Got to do around that. Again, that's another point where the tow cable will be. We'll rub. So we need to knock some of that off. Flex wire cutters. Now why would they use wire cutters? Perhaps get wire out of their tracks. Shovel for digging holes under the wheels to release the tracks when they jack it up on solid ground. I'm going to grab a bit of wear down across this bracket. Tow cable comes across here. Now I'm going to put some wear around this. It is a metal tube. I'm going to flex across this tow cable wear. I need to clean my brush in a minute. We've got a build up of paint. Give that a quick clean. Otherwise you're going to ruin the hairs on the brush. And this is one of my fine brushes. I'm probably not going to do too much of a stream. There's apparently, according to a YouTuber or a Twitch creator, it doesn't pay to go live. The channel doesn't grow if you go live. I think my thoughts on that is, unless you go live, no one's going to know about you really, unless they find you by accident. So that's why I'm live currently at the moment. Right, we need to do something with the front fenders. Probably not so much a little bit of scuffing on the light, not a lot. There would definitely be knocks. Some of it probably created by boots. Mechanics that stand up there. Maybe if it had gone back to a factory, it probably would have been repainted. But it's just how I see it. Kink up the old tow hook. tell you what I've never attempted at this moment in time in building armour, which I'm going to have to take up and do at some point, is Zimmer it. I've seen people doing it, and I need to take the leap of faith and do it myself. And I've got plenty of tanks that are mid-war. That should be wearing Zimmer, but I've never plucked up the courage to actually do anything about it. So I'm going to need to at some point. I don't know how hard it is. Perhaps you can comment. Let me know if you've had any experience of doing Zimmer, and what would be the best way to go around it. And I finally pluck up the courage to do it. So I think that's as much as I probably want to do on the top end. Don't know. Not sure. I'm 100% sure I like any of this so far. I think I'm going to have to go to the good old fashioned way of splodging it on. Get a sponge or a piece of sponge and crank it up that way. And yet again, because it's late war, I'm assuming, finally, what, 44 through to 45. If they weren't quickly knocked out, there probably wouldn't be that much scratching and damage. I need to put something on the wheels though. They're definitely going to get screwed up. scratched up, bolts, heads knocked. So let me see if I can find a suitable piece of foam. Try and find something that's a bit coarse. Have I used all my foam? That might suffice. That might do. And now let's tear it. I was going to cut it, but I thought if you cut it, put it in a pair of tweezers, you're going to have too straight an edge. You don't really want too straight an edge, do you? Otherwise it gives you unnatural lines. Alright, I'll test this out. Test this out on a piece of card. I need some along here because that's where you're not going to see it, but that's where tank tracks would be. The spare tank tracks. A few extra bits on the top. Don't want to over chip it. Exhaust. Don't want to over chip it, he says. Absolutely smacking it on. Tears. It's a bit messy now. Alright. Let's knock these rivets and stuff up. Rivets? Nuts and bolts. Oh, that's way too much. Become a foam paintbrush. I'm going to get bashed about by stones, isn't it? I'm going to put some down there along the edge, around the need some there. That is going to get knocked. starting to get stuck to the model kit now. Let's go back. Put some. So we need to paint the sprocket wheel on the front where I think I should have left the wheels off, then done them. Where the tracks, anyway, I've got to paint the sprocket wheels on the outside, on the teeth, where the track's going to cause some wear. God, I'm really not happy with this SpongeBob. To get it in focus does help. And the last knockings of paint. Yeah, I know I shouldn't have done that. A little bit on the storage boxes. No. I think that's a little bit too much. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Overdone. Doesn't look right. It looks doesn't look too bad on camera, but to the eye, it's a little bit. Okay. That's why I'm going to leave this anyway. I've got to let this dry properly before I do anything else with it. So I will be back on Saturday. We'll do another. I might like it by then. I will do another. Probably not, but I'll try my best to like it. Like I say, I will be back on Saturday. Thank you for watching, for joining me on this short, slightly productive, damaging stream. If you like what you see, don't forget to join us again. Like the page, subscribe to the page. I'd really appreciate that. Leave any comments below, especially on the bit about the Zimmer. I'd really like to know people's ideas on how to do Zimmerix, on what's the best way to go around it, using paste or putty or or actually buying Zimmer that you can apply, because I've got a few tigers and panthers that would probably need some putting on them. But anyway, I'm sort of going off the trail there. So thank you again. This is Rich Kits. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Have a safe weekend. I'll see you on Saturday.